we're spending a lot of time thinking about this and talking about this. So as New Hampshire is about to legalize it for recreational purposes, how are we going to know what our staff are using during their free time or their time away from camp? Right now, if a counselor is over 21 and they go to a local pub, they can legally have a drink or two and responsibly come back to camp and take care of their children an hour or two later. I think that's pretty reasonable. On the other hand, I have no idea what dosages counselors might be subjecting themselves to, and I don't think they would know either. How do you know the milligrams of THC contained in something that is not regulated or is smoked and maybe used by one person in one quantity or 8 people in another, in the same quantity? I don't know how we are going to say to our staff, we cannot have you making irresponsible choices around kids. We wouldn't let you be drinking and working around the kids. I understand that maybe you have a medical marijuana card from your doctor for anxiety, but we have an overriding issue of liability. We need you at the waterfront making safe choices as a lifeguard. I don't think I could feel comfortable saying to other people, the lifeguards taking care of your children are using marijuana for anxiety. I would feel uneasy and irresponsible, but I don't know what the law is going to be.
Right, will you have to dispense it in the infirmary, for example?
For example, and I also worry about the risk-taking of my teenagers at a time when their brains are not fully developed, and risk-taking is a part of that age process. Are they going to have an older brother or sister who gives them a vape pen that allows them to smoke as much marijuana as they want when we're not looking, but is odorless? It doesn't change the way their eyes look, sort of the telltale signs that you would know.
That you would have with drinking or something.
Yes, and then that person, that 14-year-old is climbing on the ropes course, or is swimming or water skiing or engaging in any other aspect of camp. It's giving us real concern, and we're not quite sure both what the law is going to be for employers, and am I going to have to, in this new climate, search all of my campers' bags?
Sure. Now, this is something obviously you'd like to know more about, and is there more to know, or is it something that has to be developed?
And I think the answer is, how could we possibly know all that we need to know when there hasn't even been a state on the East Coast where it's been legal yet? But I do know the safety, the level of safety that I want for my camp and my campers and for my staff.
You have a lot of questions that I'm sure are shared by a lot of camp communities. I mean, your state happens to be where it is, and maybe other states are not, but more and more states are going there.
Absolutely. I think a lot of camp directors are wondering about this. And it's not just marijuana. So, for instance, in our camp, we are now stocking Narcan in our health center because the state of New Hampshire has an opiate epidemic. And while I don't want to have a staff member using illicit drugs like that in camp,
you have to be prepared if there's an overdose.
I have to be prepared for an overdose because I'd much rather be driving someone to rehab
than calling the morgue,
than
or their parents,
or their parents
friends,
and
or
saying
whatever.
they're gone. I am hoping and praying to never have to use them, but I am going to have them from now on in our health center. It's not something I'm telling the staff, but we're the stewards of our community, and that includes our staff members who might be making bad choices based on life experiences that happened well before they got to camp.
This is something that all of us would like to know more about.
I would agree.
Because the opioid epidemic is not just in your state, unfortunately.
Absolutely. In New Hampshire this summer, there were 500 recorded overdoses just in the city of Manchester in July, and something like 20 deaths. And I can't have that at my camp.